And if anyone has any question, you can ask. Maybe we can have some debate at the end.
Okay. So maybe we can start. So good morning and welcome to this training action on policy and regulation recommendations on water smartness related topics. This is a training action within WP5 of the B-WaterSmart project within task 5.4. And the team that is responsible for this action is beside me. I'm Adriana Cardoso. My colleagues Rita Ribeiro and Maria João Rosa from LANEC. So welcome to all the participants to this session. The agenda that we planned for the session is after this welcome to make a presentation focusing on the main objectives and overview, the role of policy and regulation instruments to accelerate transition, the water-related resources that were addressed in the B-WaterSmart, and the approach that we followed to develop the recommendations. This is the first slot. Then we will have a second slot on current policy and regulation environment, focusing on the existing policy and regulation instruments and on the major issues identified on the B-WaterSmart Living Lab. And the last slot is dedicated to the policy and regulation recommendations from B-WaterSmart. And we will focus on cross-cutting recommendations, top-specific, and the topics are those ones here identified. And then we will have some time for question and answers and the closure. And I remind again that this is a recorded session, and it is important to fill the evaluation form, which is presented here, and I will share. Rita, maybe you can share on the chat the link. So please do not forget, because this is really important for the project. So the objectives of this session are to provide insight into the state of the art on water-related policy and regulation instruments, the contributions from the B-WaterSmart according to the reality of each of the 6 living labs: Alicante, Bodø, Frisia, Flanders, Lisbon, and Venice, and the need for policy and regulation improvements at local, national, and EU level. So we will focus on the role of policy and regulation instruments, on the topics that were addressed in the living labs of the project. So just to refer, it is digitalization and IoT on water, drinking water supply, energy, recovery of nutrients via solids and others, water reuse, and stormwater for agricultural irrigation. Then we will also focus on the contributions from the other project activities that feed also the work to develop the recommendations, and then the policy and regulation instruments addressing the water-related circularity, analysis of the main issues, and finally the recommendations for water smart systems. So it's important to remark that this work is described, and this training is mostly grounded on the work that was developed and presented in deliverable 5.6 of the project. So guidelines and recommendations for regulation and policy instruments. This is the list of the content. And so if you want to have further information and further analysis, we invite you to have a read on this document. This is the link for the document, and this document has the contributions from all the authors. So moving now to look at the key challenges in the transition to the water smart society. So circular economy in water services addresses aspects of global, regional, and local sustainability. So it addresses all scales of the water services functioning. It plays an outstanding role in the sector's policies and strategic plans, and both nationally and internationally. The initiative of the World Bank, Wastewater from Waste to Source, identified the wastewater potential to create value and promote shift in the paradigm in wastewater systems. So replacing the traditional wastewater treatment plants by resource recovery factories. So looking at water, biosolids, energy, and fertilizers, so the resources that are addressed in this scope. The Finnish Institute of Environment Research and Development identified 4 main areas of action as key to sustainable water use. And those are reducing inefficiencies in the water use, reducing water losses, promoting materials and energy recovery, and promoting water recycle and reuse. Also, the International Water Association published a guide for circular economy in the urban water cycle. And here it is summarized the 3 interrelated resources, so water, materials, and energy. It considers that the urban water cycle should be considered as and managed as a closed system, circular system. It is critical to the success, the efficient use and transport systems and of the transport systems. And the resource recovery should be competitive in a market driven by consumption. So a main challenge is to find markets willing to work with recovered products as alternative to the traditional products. And there are some key problems like the scale of production of recovery and the acceptance by the consumer. Also, regarding the energy portfolio, there is an increased renewable energy production and consumption, and it's fundamental to reduce the fossil energy consumption and to contribute to the zero carbon city. Also, the European Federation of National Water Services Association, remarked that it's important to give water its value in the circular economy, that the water and its byproducts, such as the sludge, contain valuable resources as energy, and phosphorus, that can be recovered and reused, contributing to the conservation of the scarce depleted sources. And they may support also job creation and contribute to economic growth, as the jobs and incentives should be created to bring these recovered resources to the market in the sustainable way. So these are important information that is aligned among these relevant institutions. Looking now for the stormwater management, there are key challenges that need to be addressed. The general dispersion of responsibilities in the stormwater sector worldwide, and this implies in the clear definition of the stormwater system boundaries, which is relevant to the allocation of the responsibilities, for the definition of financial mechanisms, and to control the services provision. it's important a clarification of financial models in order to improve the articulation between the agencies and the concern for environmental control. So these are critical aspects. The benefits of the green-blue approach that is important to be implemented adaptively and progressively, taking the advantage of the investment opportunities and the need to rehabilitate the system. And during this, it's important that the water utilities systematically also consider the water reuse. And internationally, stormwater systems are generally regulated by environmental authorities. So there is a greater focus on flood protection, water body protection, and increasing of the resilience of cities to climate variability and uncertainty. But there are also other challenges that need to be addressed in the management of stormwater. So regarding now the new proposal for the EU Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive that was later revised in January this year, there are important aspects that constitute challenges to the management of the water system, with water and wastewater systems. So member states shall systematically promote water reuse from all wastewater treatment plants where appropriate, and particularly in the water-stressed areas and for all the appropriated users. Promoting the reuse of treated wastewater shall be considered in water resilience strategies. The energy neutrality for the urban wastewater treatment needs to be achieved. Wastewater treatment plants should be viewed as resource recovery factories for water, energy, and materials, and managed accordingly. There is the need to find markets willing to work with recovered products, and the reduction of pollution from stormwater in large agglomeration and small and medium agglomeration in risk areas, requiring the implementation of integrated urban water management plans, where the nature-based solutions are considered as a good means to treat overflow. Another challenge are related to the asset management of the urban water system, so viewed as a coordinated activity to recognize and create value from its assets. And therefore, it's fundamental to ensure the sustainability of these assets in the long term, to guarantee that the objectives and targets of the service are complied over a longer time horizon, and considering all dimensions of sustainability, social, environment, and economic. It also requires that water utilities to systematically promote water reuse and reflecting the progress that has been made. And it is important to remark that this is a powerful tool to address an integrated planning and management for all water services. So considering the water supply, wastewater and stormwater management, and water reuse. And the asset management should be based on a sound strategic planning process, and this was really included in the project B-WaterSmart through the Innovation Alliance. Looking now for the digitalization of water services, there is an increasing number of experts with potential connections and possible motivations for intrusion by different reasons: political, financial, economical, criminal, or terrorist. And this cause concerns to cybersecurity and security against intrusion. Each member state has to identify the potential critical infrastructures, those infrastructures that are essential to the maintenance of the functions of the society regarding health, security, safety, social well-being, or economic, and which disruption or destruction would have a major impact in the member states. So transport and energy sectors are identified, and additional services need to be identified by the member states. So moving now for the role of policy and regulation instruments to accelerate transition in the water sector, it's important to take into account that the water sector requires a multi-level governance as water connects across sectors, places, and people, and also at different geographical and temporal scales. Regarding the freshwater management, it needs to be considered both at local and global scales, as hydrological boundaries and administrative limits may differ. So this involves a diversity of stakeholders in the decision making, in policy, and in project sites. So the coordination is essential, as this is a natural monopoly, capital intensive, and with important market shortcomings. The water policy is also complex, as it is strongly linked with critical domains: health, environment, agriculture, energy, spatial planning, regional development, and poverty alleviation. So this is a complex and resource-intensive responsibility needs, and this needs to be done also at subnational government level, as this results in interdependencies across levels and requires a coordination to mitigate the fragmentation. So looking now for the key policy aspects, it is important to take into account that the policy response requires coherence, appropriate stakeholders engagement, the implementation of well-designed regulatory frameworks, the existence of adequate and accessible information, and sufficient capacity, integrity, and transparency in the process and decisions. And it is key to the transition to more inclusive and sustainable practices that the institutions have the capacity to adapt to changing circumstances, political will, and policy continuity. Robust public policies must rely on clear assignment of duties across responsible authorities and regular monitoring and evaluation, what is an important aspect to consider. Looking now for the regulatory aspect, the regulation is the most used instrument for environment policy in the OECD countries. And it is important that the prescriptive regulation and performance standards are balanced with other forms of regulatory interventions, such as the market-based instruments and other measures like self-regulation, incentives, and taxes. The regulatory environment is key to create incentives for investment in innovation. So this is a positive aspect of the regulatory environment, but it may also discourage innovation what is fundamental to help economies and societies to become more resilient and environmentally sustainable. Agile and technology neutral and adaptive regulation may promote the innovation and also contribute to mitigate innovation-related risks, including for climate and environment. And the precautionary measures as the environmental license or prohibition need to be balanced with the societal benefits of environmental action and innovation. So EU policy and regulation instruments are developed and implemented by EU policies, and these include the European Commission law proposals to the European Parliament and Council of the EU to help member states implementing the EU legislation, managing the EU budget and allocated funding, and ensuring that the EU law is complied with. These policies are designed to bring benefits to citizens, business, and other stakeholders. And the better regulation tools need to ensure that each new policy is based on evidence and best available practice. So there is the better regulation agenda in order to ensure this, and the citizens, business, and stakeholders should be involved in this decision-making process. So looking now at the EU context within the water sector, water faces many pressures from pollution from industrial chemicals, pesticides, nutrients, pharmaceuticals, and climate change. Water stress is increasing worldwide, driven by overdemand, mismanagement, the impacts of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. And major concerns are translated by these figures. 42% of continental Europe is in state of warning, 8% in a state of alert, particularly for worrying scenarios in the EU South, plagued by severe and prolonged drought. 40% of the world's population is affected by water scarcity. 80% of the world's wastewater is discharged untreated into the environment. 90% of the disasters are water-related. So the EU priorities are to provide access to safe drinking water and sanitation as a human right, to protect and restore aquatic ecosystems for sustainable development, climate adaptation, and mitigation, promoting a more integrated approach to the management of water resources across sectors, promoting circularity in the use of water for industry, energy, and agriculture by increasing the water efficiency and reuse, developing transboundary water cooperation as a catalyst for peace and security, and mobilize public and private finance to research and innovation and knowledge sharing. So now mention the EU instruments relevant for the water sector. So we will focus here on the EU Circular Economy Action Plan, which facilitates water reuse and efficiency. It announces the review of directives on wastewater treatment and sewage sludge, announces the development of integrated nutrient management plan, and prioritize the new water regulations to encourage circular approaches to water reuse in agriculture. The EU strategy on climate adaptation to accelerate the development of solutions safeguarding availability of fresh water. recognizing the need for action to ensure availability and sustainable use of fresh resources, and calls for protecting water quality in the face of climate change. So developing a comprehensive and incentive regulatory framework and incentive pricing mechanism is as important as developing technical solutions to facilitate the uptake of new technologies. So within the scope of B-WaterSmart, these instruments play an important role to accelerate the transition to a water smarter society. So we are now moving to the water-related resources addressed in the B-WaterSmart Living Lab. So those topics that were mentioned, digitalization, drinking water, energy, nutrients, reclaimed water, and stormwater, and then some cross-cutting aspects, were identified based on the resources addressed in B-WaterSmart and the reality of each of the living labs participating in the project, and also the related to the products or tools that were being worked in each one of the living labs. And these topics were the basis to the development of the policy and regulations within this process. So to finalize, just an overview of the approach that was followed for developing the recommendations. So based on these topics that were identified in the project, a lot of information and of the work that was developed within the project from other working packages were analyzed and identified the main contributions to the recommendations. Also, a dedicated analysis of this development and on specific regulation and economic aspects were developed, including also regulatory and risk-related aspects for water use in agriculture, and then some sessions with the project participants and with external participants were developed focusing on some specific aspects. And this allowed to produce these recommendations. So I will now give the floor to Rita to move to the next slide.
Hi, good morning to all. I'm going to present the process of the current policy and regulation environment concerning the B-WaterSmart Living Lab. We are going to present the existing policy and regulation instruments and then present the major issues that were identified previously and presented in the report. So these are the set of directives that are relevant to water smartness, and I should just point out some of them. Just as the main one, maybe side by side, the new urban wastewater directive that is going to be entering in force this year, most probably. And then the water reuse regulation, although it's focused in the agricultural regulation, but there's also the key principles for non-potable water reuse, and also the drinking water directive that was recast, and it's very important because it sets important guidelines, either from towards the increased efficiency in the water supply system, reducing the water losses, and also so in quantity and also in quality. I'll move on. Just a few remarks about some policies that Adriana presented previously. So I don't know what is important in the Green Deal is the overlook to a set of different plans and strategies, and that they all have water-related aspects, and it helps the transition of Europe to a more to defend the natural capital and improve the health and well-being of citizens. So it's a kind of umbrella for all these action and policies. And then what is important here is regarding the finance taxonomy, because with this there is an incentive to pricing mechanism and financial that needs to be sustainable. So it's very important when we are looking at the water smartness. Okay, other. This is the one that we presented previously. This regulation is it's important because it's based on the ISO standard, and it incorporates worldwide experience from regarding non-potable water reuse, and it provides important information regarding water quality requirements, monitoring requirements, and also, and very important, how can we manage risk and provide the sustainable and to work on sustainability of the system. What potable reuse is not addressed with the regulation. So moving on to common issues that were identified by the Living Labs and the work done by the team that when writing the deliverable. National data protection laws that results that are connected with the regulation or the data protection regulation have present some impact on the data collection by the water utilities. So this can be an issue. This was all identified the lack of open data, low investment on data collection, and it's very important that the perception of the value of collecting and sharing data is at this moment is low. But it's something that needs to be to change. And for that, it's very important to identify the value of fit for purpose data. Okay, and regarding the water supply, as I said previously, there is a need to improve water efficiency, so to control water leakage and to reduce them. And then it's very important. What is important for this? Because this is planned in a strategic level because the investment is very high. So this is one of the reasons, one of the many reasons why strategic planning is so important. Because when working and solving this problem, the planning from the investment needs to be really worked and well thought. What is also important is an issue that was identified. There is a need to allocate fit for purpose water quality. So it's very important to avoid using a very high quality water, like drinking water, in non-potable use like irrigation or cleaning food. And it is also necessary to protect drinking water quality from micropollutants and to promote smart and cost-effective monitoring of these contaminants. Regarding the energy, there is a need to promote the energy efficiency, and with the new the recast of the wastewater treatment directive, urban wastewater treatment directive. This is a key aspect of this new version of this directive. And there is also a need to facilitate management between the water systems that may produce energy and the water distribution grid to minimize the need for energy storage while ensuring the quality of the gas in the distribution grid. And there is currently the EU policy for climate efficiency is in initial stage. Okay, regarding the recovery of nutrient biosolids and others, there is a long road to identify, but we need to move. The path is at the beginning. So, first of all, we need a conceptual roadmap for biosolids and sludge, because there is a different views. Some of the see the value, and the others see the hazards on it. So there is need to a dialogue between all stakeholders and to agree on the roadmap. So there is a need to revise the EU directive regarding biosolids because it's inherent some hazards, the risk can be managed with increasing data and information about it. So there is a need for a conceptual EU regulation concerning organic fertilizers obtained by the urban wastewater treatment, because they are not included now in the EU regulation regarding fertilizers. And there is a need to look for value in proposed markets, such as urban landscaping, that these organic fertilizers from wastewater treatment plants can be very valued. And then very, very important, if it was discussed in Alicante, there is a need to shift the mindset and the semantics from wastewater treatment to resource recovery, and there is a need to promote a generational change towards an increased market acceptance of recovered nutrients and biosolids. So look to the value and not only to the risk. Regarding water reuse, there is a lack of EU agenda and strategy on water reuse covering all uses, not only to agricultural irrigation uses, so non-potable and potable, reuse that can be indirect and direct, and to also to monitor and increase the safety of the current indirect reuse. There is also a lack of EU regulation and legislation about non-potable water reuse for urban and industrial uses, as I said previously. And there it also exists, doesn't exist uniform position across the EU countries regarding the accounting of indirect water reuse. So this is measured in a very different way between among the countries. Okay. So this is about the impact that the discharge of treatment plants can have in the quality of the receiving water used for water abstraction. So this is effectively an indirect reuse. So I don't know if you want to say something about this or just moving on about this. What is important is that the abstraction permit should not endanger the ecological flow from receiving water, and the cost coverage of additional treatment, if needed, should reflect the best site-specific water resource management. So what it means that the whole water cycle needs to be worked together, and then this is a recommendation about it. And this is really an opportunity for water reuse, because the recast of urban wastewater treatment directive will demand increased treated wastewater quality, and this can facilitate water reuse, because lower or no additional origin treatment will be needed for reclamation. Monitoring is very relevant for water reuse. It's essential for risk management, but this is a very big a big share of the direct cost for water reuse. And then there is a need to develop comprehensive EU policies for public engagement, awareness, and communication to overcome the perception of worse water quality and high risk. And also need identify issues for water reuse is the lack of sound business model, funding, and pricing. This is the role that multiple users can have in the system, because they improve having multiple users. The technical and economic feasibility of water use can be increased, and there is a need to clarify if reclaimed water supply must be defined as autonomous water service with a clear definition of responsibilities. And there is a need also for guidelines for across Europe regarding the water reuse licensing process. And concluding with these major common issues regarding policy and regulation, with stormwater, the use for the agriculture irrigation. Regarding government, there is a lack of adequate international agreement on transboundary water flow, and there is also a lack of stakeholders' involvement in the rainwater stormwater management as a shared challenge. And regarding technical aspects, there is a need to promote storage and use of rainwater in rural and urban spaces, including households, and there is an opportunity to use nature-based solutions to manage stormwater. Sorry, I must confess that I have a meeting with my building that ends at almost at 2 o'clock. My brain is a kind of, I don't know, or continue, or continue? I don't know. Okay, so moving to the major specific issues in the B-WaterSmart Living Lab. Just remembering that, naming them again, we have 3 cities and 3 regions. From the north to south of Europe. And what we are going to do, we are going to present major specific issues. And to help with this presentation, we have some kind of legends, some yes, regarding to present the highlights, achievements, opportunities, issues, and stuff. So, looking at the digitalization, what were the main issues identified in the specifically in Alicante by the Alicante Living Lab? It was highlighted the technical and organizational security measures against an unauthorized access, and there is the main issue was the lack of compliance control of the law and of clear guidelines on how personal data should be collected and processed. In Lisbon, also regarding digitalization, it was highlighted that this aspect, addressing cyber security, is integrated in the quality of service assessment system and covers all different subclasses with in this of the cyber security. This index, what is important also to say that these indices were included in the B-WaterSmart assessment framework. In Norway, the sustainable development goals are monitored and reported every 4 years. And moving to energy, in Spain there is several potential waste producers for biogas, but its use is limited because of the waste transport costs and requirements for legal certification. So the production is reduced because not enough material to work on. In Norway, there is a state financial support for installing biogas production facilities. What's the problem? Norway presents a lot of low populated areas, so the scale is an issue. And again, the current uncertainty existing in the organic fertilizer regulation, it's an issue that because the value and how this can be built to the market is not clear, so there is a risk in this kind of approach. In Italy, the main issue is regards the fact that the national and regulatory framework is not, at this moment, not very clear defined, and this impairs the promotion of circular economy. And there is a lack of regulation on energy recovery. Looking at nutrient biosolids and others. In Alicante, the key opportunity is that there is a shortage of ammonia-based products. It's very important for agriculture. Fertilizer is very important for agriculture. There is and because of that, there is a rise on the ammonia prices, and there is a market. So the use of fertilizers derived by wastewater is it's good. The perspective. Issue is the cost of the required equipment and the transport of the product, and the penetration of this product in the competitive market, and because of the profession is not good enough at the moment. And the obstacles that need to be overcome. There is a lack of consistency and homogeneity in the current regulatory framework to achieve an effective territorial governance. There is a lack of clear criteria on sludge application, and a lack of a comprehensive plan for monitoring and evaluating sludge management practices. So this is reflected in no proper assessment and monitoring mechanisms, lack of funding, the need of an update that considers technological development, international best practice, and environmental sustainability objectives. Venice is a living lab that have been, the roles are clear, so it's a very good achievement here. But the national, for one side, the roles are very clear, but the existing regulatory system impairs the good work of all these systems. And okay, there is a need for a clear regulation concerning the nitrogen recovery projects, like ammonia. There is a need of a decision support system to share knowledge and policy coordination at regional scale. And the fact that the data is scattered among different stakeholders, this also impairs the transition to a more water smartness society and economy. No. Regarding water reuse, it was highlighted the benefits of the implementation of other technologies to produce water, reclaimed water. And as an issue, there is it was identified under development of water reuse business model, and the complexity of the making, and the fact that because of that, the value chain of reclaimed water and roads are not well defined. It is an obstacle, so this is a real obstacle, the lack of policy coherence regarding the water allocated by concession or a title for private use. So it's the coordination that is lacking here. In Germany, the topic of and regarding water reuse, the topic of industrial water reuse is still new. The National Water Strategy 2023 was produced and considered water reuse a good option for protecting water resources. And water reuse, it was integrated in an amendment of the Drinking Water Ordinance. What is an obstacle? It's the fact that the way how water microbiological stability is worked, because it's a very important factor for the water reuse approval, and it is two time steps that it needs to be dealt. One is when the water is produced, and it needs to comply with the Drinking Water Ordinance, and then there is also the need to demonstrate a very low microbial regrowth potential. So, chlorination, the middle name of this. In the water reuse, in a specific case of water reuse in dairy industry, what is identified that the responsibility is spread among across different authorities, which makes turns making more difficult. There is a clear need to politically update the technical inputs provided by water associations and to define require water quality, and there is a need for more investment. And moving to water reuse in Flanders, there is the need to improve transboundary coordination, a need to improve access to and to affect to and the coherence among the different data platforms. And what is very good is the dashboard information sharing platforms are in place. In Portugal, the achievement is that main achievement is reclaimed water production is a new activity. So this is yes, it's very important because it's not just protecting the environment, not just protecting the human health. Production of reclaimed water is also an activity of water utilities. And no, the main obstacle is because no secondary users are allowed by law. So it's clear and decrease the water reuse potential and viability. And the water reuse financing is based on the user pays principle, meaning the additional treatment for reuse should be paid by the water user. And there is a need for a new national legislation about after the recast of the wastewater treatment directive, and there is a need for planning and acting at local and river basin level. Regarding political awareness and willingness to reuse water, Lisbon, the Lisbon city or municipality already have a strategic planning about this, and this was improved during the B-WaterSmart project. And there is the national strategy is favorable to water reuse, and the assessment of quality of service of water utilities includes reclaimed water production indicators. And main issue is one of the big issues is connected with reclaimed water storage, because the water reuse for aquifer recharge is not allowed, but the state budget for this year, including funding for a pilot project in this method, in this subject, and there is a need to integrate water reuse in local, regional water balance and opportunities, water resource management. There is also a proposal for the government to look to reduce water loss in distribution systems, so increase the water reuse efficiency. And issues that we have outdated regulation on water systems in buildings. There is a lack of knowledge and information about reclaimed water quality evolution in distribution network. There is a need to promote public awareness about water scarcity, and there is a need to increase the collaboration among the authorities, stakeholders, and professionals. But I must say that it was before the B-WaterSmart project, with the new solutions that were produced, all these issues can be. And in Italy, there is a lack of national water reuse strategy and a lack of a clear national and regional regulatory framework, as previously presented, and it's an obstacle, the complexity in regulation. And concluding with the stormwater for agricultural irrigation and other use, what is an achievement in Belgium? It was recently approved regional rainwater ordinance that penalize, prevents incentives and also penalties related to development of rainwater and drought plants, consequence of climate change. So it's already in Belgium. And there is a regulation on use of the different water sources for irrigation and on rainwater harvesting in buildings. An issue is the lack of legal framework for agriculture irrigation, and also lack of national policies for public engagement and awareness, and lack of clarity between the regulation of rainwater, stormwater, and infiltration methods, and also lack of national policies for stormwater harvesting and use. And then, well, okay.
Well, now, good morning, everybody. Now it's my job to present the recommendations, and I have a twofold, one advantage and one disadvantage. The advantage is that almost everything has been said, so we have presented all the issues, state of the state of play, all the issues. So now the recommendations were proposed so to address all the issues identified, cross-cutting issues identified at several levels. And the hardest part is that we are short on time, and perhaps you are a little bit tired, but I will try to do my best to go quickly through the recommendations. Starting with the cross-cutting recommendations. First, we need really to ensure the policy and regulation coherence among sectors. I mean, water, energy, waste, food, and health, and across levels, both at EU, national, and local. We need to promote a problem-driven conservation environment, and, for example, the water-oriented living labs now are a good solution, are a good instrument, and we have the experience of these 4 years within B-WaterSmart. And for instance, the Lisbon Living Lab is integrated the Water for All partnership as of this wall. Then it's very important to promote stakeholders engagement and co-work. For instance, the mechanism we use in the B-WaterSmart was the communities of practice, but also the Innovation Alliance, within which the 6 living labs have the chance to work together. Database decision-making, strategic planning, and resource allocation is very important to be promoted. Also, to develop coherent EU, national, and local strategic plans on water and related resources. And this means that we should, provide a clear, quantitative, and objective-driven assessment. For instance, using the B-WaterSmart assessment framework, so to identify the strategies, actions, and to estimate the human, financial, and technological resources needed to reach the targets, both on the short, medium, and long term. Creating incentives to train and capacitate human resources regarding the adequate knowledge and competencies to implement the strategic plan. Promote the SDGs monitoring and international benchmark. Implement the assessment of the impact of performance-based access to funds, both for greenfield and renewal investment. Create and empower national, regional, and local water governance boards. And this, at least for Portugal, is really important to enhance water governance and facilitate inclusive decision-making processes. This means these water governance boards could oversee water management policies, ensuring transparency and facilitating inclusive decision-making, and should include representatives from governments and regulation agencies, but also from the water sector, both public and private, water users, civil society, and academia. So to have everybody, the society as a whole, engaged in the water management, in the water governance. We identified also the need or the importance to promote collaborative work of competent authorities and water managers to continuously review and update regulations, considering the technological advancements, international best practices, and environmental sustainability goals. To engage the scientific community and other experts of the sector in decision-making processes, because knowledge involves too fast, and we need to integrate scientific knowledge in robust and innovative governance. To promote public-private collaboration and information exchange among water management entities, for instance, using discussion forums or benchmarking initiatives. And it's very important to promote the shifting of the mindset and the semantics. Again, from wastewater treatment to resource recovery, and valuing water quality rather than its history, meaning that privileging water, using water over wastewater. And this, I would say, that requires a revision, a full revision of the current legislation and future one. And to promote a change, a generational change towards an increased market acceptance of recovered water, nutrients, and biosolids. And for this, the wording shifting will be a catalyst. Now, in terms of the topics, recommendations specific per topic addressed, starting with digitalization and IoT on water at EU level, the recommendations identified were to promote mechanisms for the continuous update and monitoring of IT threats and solutions, so to ensure updated technical and organizational security measures against unauthorized access, and the security and resilience index that we have in Portugal for the water and for the wastewater services, where it's a way of starting this, and it's included in the B-WaterSmart assessment phase. Other recommendation is to produce guidelines or standards of fit-for-purpose data specification, comprehensively demonstrating the value of the shared data, both from the economic and the innovation point of view, and addressing the integration of multiple systems and data sources. To clarify the boundaries between confidential and open data, promoting safe availability of sound, anonymous shared data, because otherwise, without data, we cannot decide. We cannot have informed decisions. At national, regional, and local levels, the recommendation is to transpose the above when and if applicable. Regarding drinking water supply at EU level, the recommendations are to regulate or provide incentives for the development of strategic asset management of water supply systems, for the prioritization, for the ranking of most cost-effective investments on the long term, and this should include network renewal and smart monitoring for sure. Minimize the discharge of microcontaminants in the water sources. The best way to avoid advanced treatment and to minimize the treatment needs and the safety of the treated water is to control the pollution that goes into the raw water. So, and microcontaminants are an issue of emerging concern. So, promoting point source control, for instance, by some of the pharmaceutical active compounds, or considering an improvement for sure after the new urban wastewater treatment directive enters into force and is in place for some years. The water quality will be better. Promote research on simpler and cost-effective monitoring of proxy indicators of these contaminants. So contaminants of emerging concern are very costly and difficult to analyze, and we need the proxy indicators, otherwise we will not be having enough data to have a fair and sound management. To monitor and regulate, particularly water-scarce regions, the non-potable uses of drinking water, and these could be by licensing restrictions of water meters for irrigation. And at national, regional, and local level, the idea is to transpose when and if applicable the above mentioned recommendations. On energy, at the EU level, the recommendations are to promote and provide the means for energy efficiency in water systems and in the treatment plants, and for self-sufficiency in the treatment plants towards the energy neutrality, to facilitate the management regarding production and use of energy by water utilities between the water systems and the energy distribution grid, this is very important, at least in Portugal and in some other countries, to provide incentives for the adoption of water energy efficiency certificates for the built environment, so households, buildings, and neighborhoods. At national, regional, and local levels, it would be important to transpose what we have been identified when and if applicable, and definitely to better harmonize the water, energy, and waste policies at this level. For instance, to assess the impact of energy production on, for example, from hydrogen, from green hydrogen on water resources, to facilitate the co-digestion of waste for improved biogas production, and to clarify the legal restrictions for sludge agricultural application, considering the contaminants involved, and because regarding sludge, we have also a twofold way of managing it, which is to invest on energy production or to recover the nutrients contained. Concerning the recovery of nutrients, biosolids, and others at EU level, the recommendations are to produce an European Union roadmap for biosolids and sludge management that should consider the net societal benefits in the decision-making on management options, accounting for aspects such as the bioavailability of nutrients and the energy content, to ensure coherence of policy and targets between biosolids recovery and biogas production, to revise the EU directive concerning biosolids and sludge beneficial use in agriculture and the required characteristics and standards. And these characteristics and standards are very important, and also to define a clearer allocation of responsibility along the value chain of these biosolids. And while doing this revision, it's important to exclude biosolid sludge from waste legislation, so to overcome the existing barriers to circular economy. And we have yet or currently no uniform rules in the EU. So this would improve the predictability for investments for water utilities and enhance confidence of the end user. To deliver a comprehensive EU regulation concerning the organic fertilizers obtained from the urban wastewater treatment, including, again, required standards. This is very important to promote their recovery and market acceptance and a clear allocation of responsibility along the value chain again. Promote monitoring of phosphorus, since this is a critical raw material in Europe, and accordingly update regulations by adjusting the targets of peer recovery from urban wastewater, both via biosolids and land application at agronomic rates, or irrigation with reclaimed water and producing fertilizers. Other recommendation is to promote research and the use of technologies that recover nutrients from wastewater and sludge streams in a concentrated form. For instance, TRUBIT, increasing the options for reuse. This means reducing the pathogen risk and make the transportation easier. And to promote research on the impact on soil, vegetation, animals, and humans resulting from the use of biosolid sludge in agriculture. Also to integrate local specificities in the nutrient and biosolid management system. One size does not fit all, so different solutions are better for different contexts, and prioritize the adaptation of existing sludge infrastructures for co-digestion rather than solely focus on funding new infrastructures. These would allow to optimize resources and maximize the benefits of existing facilities. And a very nice recommendation was to establish a sludge roundtable like King Arthur's at the regional or national level to ensure effective monitoring and evaluation of sludge management practices. So sitting across the table, the various stakeholders, including government authorities, companies, scientific and expert communities, users. For sure, this would help update regulations and address legal concerns within the sector. On water reuse, the recommendations are to develop a EU strategic agenda on water reuse, covering all issues, non-potable and potable, indirect and direct reuse, and within indirect to include managed aquifer recharge, for instance, and this would this indirect inclusion will is very important because it will allow us to monitor and increase the safety of the current indirect reuse and facilitate the development of these circular paradigm among water, energy, waste, and food. To encourage the member states to define priorities for reclaimed water uses according to the local environmental, technical, economic, and social circumstances. And to do these, reclaimed water needs to be clearly integrated in the local regional water balance, and we have several living labs within B-WaterSmart providing these tools. Agree on a uniform position across the EU countries on if and how to account for indirect water reuse. In the boundaries between the treated wastewater discharge and the indirect water reuse, it needs to be clarified, and so the cost with the implication in the cost coverage of the initial treatment, and the environmental uses should be also always accounted for as direct or indirect water reuse. Concerning managed aquifer recharge, we think that clear instructions should be delivered for the environmental impact assessment and for risk assessment and management. And a future revision of the regulation on water reuse should consider the establishment of minimum requirements for other uses and other than agricultural irrigation, like industrial urban uses, always with the fit for purpose principle. Provide instructions, clearer instructions on the risk assessment process, meaning on how extensive the risk assessment should be, and reflecting the monitoring, the knowledge about the system and its reliability. So to have a cost-effective monitoring. Once after a first validation period with more intense monitoring, then it should be adjusted for the regular routine monitoring. Promote research and provide guidance on how to upgrade the current urban wastewater treatment plants, so to cope with the new requirements of the new directive and enable water reuse. And this is important because quaternary treatment and disinfection would, of course, make easier the water reuse. Account for the beneficial use of recovery of phosphorus through irrigation with reclaimed water. Promote EU policies for public engagement, awareness, and communication to overcome the often biased perception of worse water quality and high risk. This is really a key issue to increase the water reuse acceptance. Develop guidelines for Europe-wide coherent water reuse licensing and water reuse service provision and pricing. Promote risk because the reclaimed water needs very often a dedicated treatment, storage, and conveyance. So should be or may be better addressed with the independent service. Promote research and innovation and subsequently develop policy and regulation on water reuse business models, funding mechanisms, and pricing. And these include tax incentives or subsidies or whatever. Promote research and pilot demonstration projects of direct potable use to develop sound guidelines of water quality and treatment process operation and redundancy. And we think this is important to anticipate the solution for more severe scenarios of water scarcity, localized needs in emergency situations, and to build the trust of society in water reuse safety. Wow. At the national, regional, and local levels, Spain suggested as recommendation to establish clear roles and responsibilities to promote efficient use of reclaimed water, so to define common protocols for preventing entities from relying solely on their discretion to promote reclaimed water, to develop a more unified and consistent approach to ensure policy coherence at both regional and national levels. And it is important to prioritize long-term resource sustainability and emphasize the promotion and support for the expansion of reclaimed water. comprehensive framework to align policies and strategies, addressing the needs of all stakeholders involved, to find a balance between different water users, change perception and increase flexibility, to ensure the responsibility and efficient exchange of water resources, so to implement certain limits and supervise supervision to prevent the misuse of water. In Germany, promote at federal level decision support and guidelines for the authorities to approve water reuse for daily industry solutions, to strengthen and coordinate technical advice, to bundle responsibility, political empowerment of health authorities, promote the uptake by the policymakers of the technical input provided by the experts, meaning water associations or others, and increase investment support for refinancing of high capex and capex. In Belgium, to improve transboundary coordination and translation of EU legislation to the national and regional levels, to align federal and regional risk assessment procedures, to improve access to and coherence among different data platforms and stimulate cross-border data sharing, and promote a broader involvement of stakeholders in the value chain. In Portugal, to create and regulate reclaimed water supply service, because we need to overcome the major bottleneck, which is the use of secondary users, and to create a financial model to assess a fair share of water reuse costs, to promote strategic planning for water reuse, and for this we have developed something, the assessment framework of B-WaterSmart. In Italy, to develop a national water reuse strategy, to develop the same but for industrial water reuse according to specific substances, national policies for public engagement, awareness and communication, clarification of roles and responsibilities in agriculture, and strengthen the database decision to support water reuse implementation and management. Regarding stormwater for agriculture irrigation, the recommendations are to provide adequate international agreements on transboundary water flow, particularly in those regions where surface water inflow is important, promote stakeholder involvement in rainwater and stormwater management as a shared challenge, and to define clearly the role of responsibility ownership, to promote storage and use of that water, promote the use of nature-based solutions to manage the quantity and quality of stormwater, and promote smart monitoring and control of these systems. Before I open the floor to your questions, we should acknowledge all the very important contributions from Living Lab problem owners for their very valuable contributions, many and very good. For all the participants of the interactive session we held in Alicante last September, and all the participants of the dedicated session in Lisbon on policy and regulations for water use held this January, and all our co-workers, of course. And two slides, we joined here the major references for this work that you can go into for further reading. And now, questions? I'm afraid we have spent just the entire slot for presenting. While you are thinking of the next questions, I may just add that now the next step on this task is to produce the policy brief based on these, of course, on this report, but also fiscal. And there we will be having some very concise and assertive documents on the key topics. And of course, that's written here. Please go through the evaluation link and provide your evaluation. Otherwise, we will be having Raul asking for it. So if not, just to say that the policy brief will be started leading by, well, Anika just left, so our colleague from Delphi. And if that is all, I think we may close the session, and thank you for your patience, and we hope it was useful. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Eu venho.